Yesterday, I heard the best definition of discipline I've ever come across. Discipline is the strongest form of self-love. It is ignoring something right now for something better later on. It reveals to us our commitment to our dreams. This really struck a deep chord with me. I've made so many sacrifices over the last few years, and that definition really clarified why I did the things I did. 2019 has become a pivotal year in my life. After a traumatic experience during my college days, I was forced to reassess, redraw, and restructure everything about my life. Looking back, I thank God for this. Not many people get the opportunity to restructure what is valuable to them, and often end up living lives they never wanted. 2019 marked the beginning of my journey. I no longer felt like a pawn in someone else's chessboard. It was my board, and I got to move the pieces where I wanted. It was in 2019 when the vision for my life was born, and since then, it has been a roller coaster through the world of self-development and self-understanding. What was once a little glimpse of a greater vision, through lots of introspection, has become a crystal clear roadmap for who I was to become and what my life would be. That is, if I stick to the plan with discipline and courage. The courage I had no problem moving to places I'd never been or entering spaces where I didn't feel comfortable. If an opportunity seemed like it would get me closer to my goals, I had absolutely no issue dropping everything and moving across the state. Recently, I took one of the biggest leaps of faith. I left my career, my friends, and even a long-term relationship with a wonderful person to pursue my dream of building a permaculture community center. I didn't lack the courage, but discipline on the other hand was where I struggled. And when I say I also mean us, because it feels like a lot of people struggle with discipline nowadays. And I believe it's for three main reasons. Reason number one, dopamine is cheaper than ever. What once took hours to achieve can now be done in seconds. Instant meals, instant entertainment, instant dopamine. Of course, our monkey brains are going to go for the instant gratification of TikToks over hard work. Reason number two, the world is louder than ever. Everywhere you look, someone is trying to sell you their vision. Become a coach, become a dropshipper. 24/7, 7 days a week, people on the internet are competing for our attention, trying to sell us what they think we should be doing with our lives. Reason number three, discipline requires patience, and patience seems to have gone extinct. We no longer think in long time horizons. We have forgotten that real things take time. A farmer plants a fruit tree and doesn't expect a harvest for 2 to 3 years. Trees get chopped and sit for 2 years before they can be used for firewood. A business takes 3 years to become profitable. Nowadays, we try something for a month and move on to the next thing because we don't see any results. We are like farmers who plant trees and give up after a few months, or a gold miner who stops digging right before striking gold. Discipline was never possible for me until I made some changes. Discipline required me to have a powerful vision for my life. I realized that without a vision and a reason for pursuing that vision, it would be impossible for me to say no to instant dopamine. I had to make my vision so clear and so meaningful that the power of instant dopamine was no match for my commitment to my life's vision. No goals and no vision meant my biological impulses would make me choose the quick pleasure every time. The definition of discipline said, discipline is ignoring something that you want right now for something better in the future. I had to define what better was. No one was going to do it for me. Discipline required me to cut out the bullshit. I spent too long listening to people on the internet trying to convince me that their version of reality was the correct one for me, and it polluted my mind. Everyone seemed to have the answers for what my life should look like except me. It wasn't until I realized that the answers lay within me that I was able to cut through the noise and discover my vision for life. Finally, discipline required me to think long term. If I was serious about creating the lifestyle I desired, I had to be okay with putting my head down and working for 3 to 5 years. In a world where we are so used to receiving what we want instantly, I had to be okay with not seeing results, which required a massive amount of faith and determination. So here I am, 5 years later, smack in the middle of it. I made a video 5 years ago titled Escaping Society's Matrix and Retiring Before the Age of 30. A title that looking back on now I cringe at, but the message still holds true. In that video, I talked about how I wasn't feeling fulfilled in the modern world, how I felt a strong call back to roots. I expressed my goal that by 2030, I will have saved up enough money to buy a piece of land, that I would be living full-time on an off-grid homestead, dwelling close to the land, raising animals, and growing food. And here I am, 5 years later, and that goal is quickly becoming a reality. What once seemed like an impossibility is becoming a very real possibility. I now own a few acres in the country, which I am so grateful for. I feel so connected to nature and the land, something that I've craved for so long. In the past, I felt a lot of uncertainty about my decisions, but not here. I know that I am meant to be here, meant to tend to the land and show others how to do so as well. That I am sure of. Since 2015, I have felt this enormous, overwhelming urge to get back to roots. I felt like the world was lost in abstraction, disconnected from what is real. Everyone seems to have forgotten where we come from. We have forgotten that everything we have and everything we will have comes from the soil. It comes from nature. We have become so disconnected from reality. We walk into these giant air-conditioned warehouses stocked with food and never really realize the time and energy it takes to get that. Just imagine for a moment that the power grid goes out for an entire month. No Wi-Fi, no electricity. How long would it take before the grocery stores run out of food? We saw what happened when we had a toilet paper shortage during COVID. What happens if there's a water shortage or a food shortage? Absolute chaos. The line between a functioning society and a chaotic, collapsing society is very thin, and that often scares me. It has become increasingly clear to me that becoming self-sufficient isn't just a luxury or an option. It has become a necessity. I don't consider myself a doomsday prepper, but lately it feels like a lot of people are starting to see that the times are becoming very weird and very chaotic. Not to mention, how amazing would it be to wake up every morning, to feed your livestock, to connect with your land, and develop a deep relationship with the earth. I crave that. Someday, I will walk into a barn that I built with my bare hands. I will sit in the middle of all of my animals and meditate and connect with them. This place will soon be transformed into a fountain of absolute abundance. Delicious, nourishing food and spaces that I built with my hands over time. Infinite fruit, infinite eggs, infinite clean drinking water. Places for people to connect, and a strong sense of community. That is my definition of fulfillment. But now that I am here, there is still a lot of work to be done. There is this human tendency to believe that once you reach your goals, you will finally feel free and you will finally be at peace. But that is an illusion. Peace only exists now, and if we keep pushing it off until some far-off distant future, we will never find it. The work is never going to cease. It's just a part of the human condition, and I embrace that. I know my homesteading and permaculture journey has just begun, and I honor that. I honor where I am, and I embrace the hard work. This season of my life is called discipline, and I am okay with that. I trust that the right people and the fun experiences will come in time. But for now, I have to put my head down and work. I need to acquire the necessary skills needed for the road ahead. I have massive plans for this place, and I know that in time, this place will become a teeming hub for human connection and natural systems. Patience is the name of the game. The world has become hyper-obsessed with speed and instant gratification, but nature preaches stillness, resilience, and patience. I don't want lightning-fast results. I want them to take time. Things that grow too quickly have shallow roots. I want deep roots. A weed grows overnight, but a fruit tree takes years. I don't want to be hollow. I want to be dense like an old-growth forest. That takes time, and I am okay with that. It is winter right now, which means there isn't a whole lot to do but prepare for spring. Next year, I'm starting small by raising chickens and rabbits and having a small garden. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew like I've done in the past. I will master this level before I take on more. As for the skills I need to acquire, there is a lot of them. I need to learn how to raise animals. I've had 4 chickens in the past, but that's nowhere near the amount I intend to have in the spring. I need to master the art of animal husbandry, which means breeding, raising, and eventually harvesting these animals for meat. I also need to learn how to grow food. A few hobby tomato plants in the past does not make me an expert. And if I want to be fully self-sufficient, I need to understand how to grow lots of food. This requires mastery of other skills like composting and nutrient cycles. I also want to learn how to hunt. Someday, I would love to be able to hunt a deer and provide meat for my family. Since there isn't a whole lot I can do in the winter, I am doing some stuff right now to prepare me for the spring. If I want to be able to build my own barn and build structures on my land, I need to learn how to build stuff. I recently started a carpentry apprenticeship, which gives me the necessary skills for building my own cabin. I'm also taking an online permaculture design course, which has been extremely valuable. There's so much to learn, and this brings up a sense of overwhelm, but I need to remember that I am in no rush. Patience is the name of the game, and I have my entire life to become a master of these skills. Mastery takes time. I say, bring it on.